Nicole Wermers is a postmodern collage artist, sculptor, and installation artist. In her art, she looks at urban space, places like restaurants, stores, and parties, where we spend the most time being social. She looks at all aspects of this space, and the social, economic, and psychological aspects of what makes up that space and how we behave in it. In her art, she looks at the staples of things we find in urban spaces like furniture and cutlery, and comments on how they are appropriated by consumer culture. One piece of Wermers' art that particularly exemplifies these ideas is her installation at the Frieze Gallery in New York titled Untitled Chairs or Infrastructure. This piece features a bare room with several scattered chairs draped with fur coats. The chairs used in this piece are Wermers' interpretation of a German chair model that is considered a German design classic and is still in production today. These chairs are composed of a tubular steel form with an upholstered seat and backrest. Permanently stitched onto these chairs are women's fur coats. The coats are left to symbolize the act of claiming your spot in a public space. Wermers looks at the societal ritual and the infrastructure or lack of by looking at the material objects that communicate the idea of ownership in a public space. Wermers questions why we respect these practices. Although leaving your coat on the back of a chair cannot physically stop anybody from sitting in a seat you perceive to be yours, following along with the idea itself ensures you are societally accepted and feel psychologically secure in your environment. Another piece by Wermers, titled Manners, looks at the 20th century cafe and one of its most important physical objects, the teaspoon. This piece, commissioned for the Tate Museum in London, England, consists of the teaspoons used in the museums being replaced with the ones created by Wermers, alongside the museum's regular cutlery. The cafe itself has a strong connection to 20th century bohemian culture of trying to live an unusual lifestyle in comparison to our previous generations. Nowadays, we use the cafe as a meeting place among friends, family, romantic prospects, co-workers, and even strangers. We utilize the cafe as a space to foster creativity and productivity, just as we use it as a space to get away from our responsibilities. The spoon is a vital part of the cafe ritual. The piece Manners looks at the cultural implication of an item used by everyone in the daily, intimate ritual of drinking tea and coffee. The teaspoon composed by Wermers is double-ended. One side is smaller and shallower and represents the popular teaspoon design of the 1950s. The other side is decidedly larger and more rounded, reflecting the popular design of the 1980s. Although these differences may seem arbitrary, you wonder how if a spoon design changed so much in a period of 30 years, how did the culture surrounding cafes change? What are the differences one would have experienced in a cafe over that 30-year period? And how does the change in the spoon reflect the change as a whole? Another postmodern artist is neoconceptualist Jenny Holzer. After attending several universities and studying many, this piece by Holzer is entitled, "It is in your self-interest to find a way to be very tender." It consists of these words spelled out on a theater marquee in Chicago. This piece really takes advantage of the idea that urban space is the holy ground of modern culture. The busy location ensures thousands of people will see Holzer's piece and interpret it in their own way. Say someone who views the piece by chance is deeply affected by it and uses it as advice in their real life. This is Holzer's aim. Her subtle reminders of things that she believes to be truths incorporate the importance of urban space to our culture because it exemplifies, to an exaggerated degree, the social, political, and spiritual cues we take from our environment. Another work of Jenny Holzer was a piece she created in 1983 for an installment at the Ronald Fieldman Fine Arts Gallery in New York City, where a group of artists created a series of works inspired by George Orwell's novel 1984. Holzer had 7 of her truisms for survival printed on a small stack of styrofoam cups. The sayings are cold, harsh, and provocative, but sincere nonetheless. The sayings seem to be almost tips for survival, which is contradicted by the fact that they are printed on styrofoam cups, which are a symbol of environmental destruction and waste. This completely erases any feeling of hope and introduces the theme of irony present in much of Holzer's work. The idea of simply presented truth transcends artistic preferences and pierces the hearts in a different way for everyone who views them. Holzer's Truisms for Survival and Wermers' Untitled Chairs both have a very raw and honest quality to them. Both use commonplace mediums, chairs and styrofoam cups, to normalize and incorporate the meanings they believe the objects have into everyday life. Both question non-tangible ideas that we use as a society to maintain order, such as ownership and survival. And both are incredibly simplistic visually, and use implied meaning to convey the message behind their art. Although Holzer's and Wermers' art are aesthetically very different, they both hold the same quality of truth.